Hello YouTube, it's me again. Today I'm here to talk about the 2018 midterm elections. It's going to be a major, big political year next year. So with the end of 2017 rolling around, I figured this is probably better time than ever to talk about the 2018 midterms. So as you can see over here, it's going to happen on November 6, 2018. So mark your calendar. And the stakes, well, I'm going to be talking about the Senate here in this video. I'll do a governorship video later. And I won't really be talking about the House too much. I will maybe do a video or two on it, depending on how things go. So for the United States Senate, obviously, third of the Senate is up every year. And the stakes for this election are going to be pretty high. Obviously, Donald Trump is the president. He's a Republican. Republicans have both the Senate and the House, as well as majority of governorships. For the Senate is a pretty razor-thin majority Republicans have. Republicans have 51. Democrats have 47 plus the 2 independents, so it's 51-49. And it was 52-48 at the end of the 2016 elections, but because of Doug Jones's win earlier this month in Alabama, that narrows it from 52 to 48 to 51 to 49. So Democrats now only need 2 seats to regain control of the majority. And judging from how 2017 has been, it's not been too kind of Republicans. Democrats have actually done pretty well across state legislative districts across the country. Not to mention, Democrats had pretty good showings in the regularly scheduled 2017 governorship elections in Virginia, where they won by a larger than expected margin, and they obviously, as expected, flipped New Jersey from red to blue. So Democrats do have the wind at their back, and they have the momentum going into next year. But obviously, the question is that going to hold? So I've looked at all the maps, the 2016 map, 2012, and how all these incumbents have done previously. Some of them are freshmen, obviously, but I'm going to try to figure out how they're going to do next year, assuming, I'll explore a whole host of hypothetical situations in this video. So it's worth noting off the bat, though, Democrats are defending 10 seats in states that won by Donald Trump. Obviously, you know what those states are. North Dakota, Montana, Missouri, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, and Florida. Excuse me. So, that's pretty much a tall order for Democrats to do, but they may have a chance here. So we're going to look at all the competitive races that I marked out. Keep in mind, these aren't particularly rated one way. It's like safe or leaning. But these are the seats that I think are guaranteed that they're going to go blue or red next year. So you can see the red states here: Texas with Ted Cruz, Roger Wicker, Mississippi, Deb Fischer, John Barrasso, Orrin Hatch. He may not run again. He may retire, but we're going to assume right now that he is running for re-election. If Orrin Hatch doesn't run for re-election, I'm assuming Mitt Romney will be the Republican nominee there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, no, that's actually 5. I can't count. So that's 5 Republican seats that are safe. There's like 8 Republican seats on this map, and Democrats, I think there's like 24, give or take, given the special, since Al Franken is going to be resigning in a few days. Actually, yeah, it is a few days from now, actually. So that's another seat that Democrats will have to worry about. But overall, with the totals from what you can see here, I would say there's a guarantee 48 Republicans that will return to the United States Senate. And there are 39 Democrats, I think, that are guaranteed to return to the Senate. You may ask why I have Michigan as safe. It's because, well, there has been a good top-tier Republican candidate that has been there. There are Republican candidates running there, but I don't think that they have much of a shot. And there really has been polling to, to confirm or deny my suspicions. Again, there hasn't really been a lot of polling in general, but this is kind of what we have to go off of as, political watchers. I don't have any access to any secret internal polls that show the race lean one way or another, but this is just state history, how the incumbents have done, what way the political winds are blowing as of right now on this December update. I'll be doing an update on all these elections, on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. I'm figuring it out as I go, as I said. So Republicans only need to win the 3 seats in this scenario, and in this case they just have to win their own: Arizona, Nevada, and Tennessee. Democrats, they need to win 12. So which includes mostly most of their own seats. They have to hold virtually every single seat of theirs and add on 2 seats. So it's a tough order, but it could be doable depending how bad things for Republicans get. Things for Republicans get. So this is how I've rated all the races, and I'll show how this all adds up. So I would say that the pure toss-ups are Florida with Bob Nelson, or actually, was it Bill Nelson? Yeah, it's Bill Nelson. Tennessee with Bob Corker. He is retiring. The Democratic frontrunner for the seat is Phil Bredesen, the former governor. The most likely Republican candidate will probably be Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. That's going to be a interesting seat to watch. The polls have showed it been tight, so it's definitely gone from safe Republican to toss-up. Polling also, I'm going to go back in Florida. Polls, most likely Rick Scott is going to run. Actually, I saw that he's going to announce sometime in January. That will be a big boon to Republicans, and he's probably the only one that could maybe beat Bill Nelson. So, and polling has shown, swingingly back and forth. So it's definitely a competitive race, and it'll be probably one of the competitive races in the country if Rick Scott actually gets in. He is the governor of Florida. In Missouri, Republicans, oddly enough, cast aside their first choice, Congresswoman Ann Wagner, to run against Claire McCaskill, and they decided to bet their hopes on a relatively untested candidate, Attorney General Josh Hawley. He's only won one race, but he won by the largest margin, and Republican insiders believe, he's going to win. Well, again, not personally, I don't think that's the best option, but, it is what it is at this point. Polling has shown Josh Hawley ahead of Claire McCaskill, though, so although there was internal polling showing Ann Wagner ahead of Claire McCaskill, but it is what it is. So Indiana, this is definitely going to be one of my most favorite races to watch, because the primary is going to be interesting, because there's two congressmen, Luke Messer and Todd Rokita. They're running against each other, and the primary race has already been pretty nasty, and there are other candidates as well, most prominently former state rep Mike Braun, who's a wealthy self-funder. He's in the race as well, and they're running against Joe Donnelly. There hasn't been any public polling, so to speak. I do remember reading an article showing Todd Rokita ran a poll, internal poll showing that he was within striking distance of Joe Donnelly. So, and considering that Donald Trump won the state by 19 points and he's still popular there as well, this is the home of VP Mike Pence. There's going to be a lot of Republican energy directed towards the state to try to flip Joe Donnelly out of office. Considering also he won in 2012 on a fluke because his opponent that year was such a disaster. I've also rated Ohio as a toss-up because Ohio's been trending sharply to the right. Donald Trump won it by an unprecedented 8 points. And Republican candidates down the ballot has also started winning by landslide margins. Rob Portman won easily. John Kasich won an easy re-election. The last statewide win for Democrats was in 2012 when Obama won re-election, and that also carried Sherrod Brown over the finish line against Josh Mandel. Josh Mandel is also running again. He is the front runner to take on Sherrod Brown again. Polling again, from what we've seen, has shown a race kind of back and forth at this point. So Ohio's the perennial swing state of them all, even though it is trending to the right. So it's a toss-up. But Sherrod Brown has a history of performing well in Ohio. So yeah, and with Republican energy kind of in Ohio now, with the state kind of moving more towards the right, it's definitely a toss-up state. In North Dakota, Heidi Heitkamp again won her race on a real big fluke, even though her opponent, which was Congressman Rick Berg in 2012, Rick Berg didn't do anything stupid, so to speak, but he was just not a good candidate. Like, he kind of was too cocky. And, Heidi Heitkamp won by, a point. So, Donald Trump won the state pretty easily, and the Republican frontrunner as of right now is State Senator Tom Campbell, who is he's essentially the richest man in the state. So he's been running a bunch of ads, and there has been a poll that showed him doing really well against Heidi Heitkamp. He's winning by 3 points. So the momentum is clearly going towards his way since Heidi Heitkamp is in one of the deepest red states. Obviously, I think this race is a toss-up. And the next two are GOP held, which in addition to Tennessee. So Arizona, Jeff Flake is retiring, which was shook up the race. He was initially running, but he was doing pretty badly in the primary against Kelly Ward. So he's retiring, and Kelly Ward is still in the race, but Congresswoman Martha McSally is going to enter the race soon, from what I could tell. The Democrats also have a pretty good candidate. Kristen Sinema is her name. She's also Congresswoman for Arizona. And polling has shown a pretty tight race, so this has gone straight to a toss-up. And Donald Trump only won the state by 5 points, which is worse than what Mitt Romney did. Mitt Romney won the state by 9. Last toss-up race I'll talk about is Dean Heller, Nevada. Heller's in one of the situations where he's being challenged on two fronts. He's getting challenged in the primary by perennial candidate Danny Darkanian, as well from the left as the newly minted Congresswoman Jackie Rosen. Again, polling from what we've seen has been showing a tight race for Heller on both fronts, so this is definitely a toss-up race. Hillary Clinton did win the state, and this is the only Clinton Republican seat out of all the states you're seeing. Then there's four races that are competitive, but I would say are leaning towards the Democrats. West Virginia, my old home state, Joe Manchin. Manchin is probably hypothetically in the worst spot possible next to Heidi Heitkamp because Trump won the state by 42 points, and Manchin's been trying to moderate his views as best he can to accommodate the whole Trump era. And he has two Republican opponents as of right now that have a serious chance of winning, which is Congressman Evan Jenkins and Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. Right now, from the only poll we've seen, Morrisey is ahead by 6 points in the primary, but polling has shown for the general election that Joe Manchin is ahead significantly up against the two. So even though Joe Manchin is running into some serious state headwinds, since this is such a deep red state, he has a history of performing well in the state. He was a two-term governor. He's won his Senate seat twice before, so he knows how to win the state. So we're giving Joe Manchin the benefit down and rate this as lean Democrat. Though obviously this race can still develop. Up north, Pennsylvania, not New York, Pennsylvania. Bob Casey is the two-term Democrat incumbent there, and he's the front runner to face him is Congressman Lou Bartlett. Again, we haven't seen anything from this race, but Bob Casey does have a history of performing well in the state. And even though Donald Trump didn't nearly carry the state, it does really remain to be seen if Lou Bartlett is going to, pose a serious challenge to Bob Casey. So for now, and also given that Trump has actually gone pretty unpopular in the state, so it's definitely a race that Casey has an edge in right now. Over to Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin is running against two Republican opponents right now, Kevin Nicholson, a businessman, and State Senate Majority Whip Leah Vukmer. I think that's how you say her name. Right now, there hasn't been any general election polling, but right now the only poll that's been out for the primary is that Kevin Nicholson internal poll has been ahead. And keep in mind, just a general disclaimer, I really don't trust internal polling, but given that it's the only thing we've seen so far, it's what I have to go off of. So Wisconsin, again, Donald Trump nearly won it, but Trump is insanely unpopular in Wisconsin now, so... And given that Tammy Baldwin did do well against a pretty herald GOP opponent, former Governor Tommy Thompson in 2012, granted, even though she performed about the same as Obama did in 2012 when he won the state, so I would definitely say that Baldwin has an edge, given that I don't think that her two opponents are very well known at this stage. So well, it remains to be seen, but for now, I would say it's definitely a Baldwin advantage. Lastly, Montana, John Tester. Again, he's a two-termer, running for a third term. He has, again, a history of performing well. He did win Montana, as Mitt Romney easily won the state. Trump did do very well in Montana as well. And there's like 4 or 5 prominent Republicans that are running against him. Most prominently, the front runner, I would say, is state auditor, Matt Rosendale. I think also former judge Russ Fagg could make a good impact as well. There's also state senator Al. I don't even know how to say his last name. Starts with an O. He's running. He's one of the more anti-establishment candidates running. So there's been no polling in Montana, but Tester has done pretty well in Montana. So I would say again he starts off with an edge. Although again the race could easily flip one way or another. So that's kind of the stakes. That's all the competitive races, so to speak. So given all the ratings I just said, so still 48 Republicans, but Democrats move up to 44. So these are essentially the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're essentially 8 states that are like going to be toss-ups. Also, I forgot to mention the Minnesota special election. I rate that as a lean Democrat because again, with Amy Klobuchar running, I do think that's going to carry over and uh, probably benefit the presumptive incumbent Tina Smith if she wins the primary. Again, also, I'm operating on the assumption that no incumbent loses their primary. There are a slew of incumbents that are facing primary challenges that and they may not win, but for now, we're going to assume that they win. So this includes a special, so it's 48-44 advantage. So where do Republicans really win? Well, if they get Rick Scott, they will have a good chance in Florida. Marsha Blackburn versus Phil Wilson, that'll be a tough race. Missouri, Claire McCaskill versus Josh Hawley, that's going to be a tough race, but Josh Hawley is the favorite right now. Arizona and Nevada are going to be very hard for Republicans to hold on, given that these states are diversifying more Latino voters that are tending to favor Democrats. Not to mention the rhetoric from Donald Trump isn't exactly helping him and his party standing with Latino voters. So it'll definitely be an anchor for the Republicans, but it's not exactly that they can. I mean, they can still overcome it, though. Again, Republican operatives in North Dakota don't sound too optimistic about Campbell's chances against Heitkamp, but again, we'll have to wait for more polling. Indiana, I think either Congressman Luke Messer or Todd Rokita can give Joe Donnelly a good run for his money, and I think that'll be a tough race, bitter race to the end. Same for Ohio with Josh Mandel wins, he'll face a rematch against Sherrod Brown. Given the state's right-wing lurch, I do think Josh Mandel has a better chance now. But again, Trump has gone underwater in nearly all these states except maybe Wyoming. So again, Trump's going to be a major factor in these midterms, and it's going to be up to the Republican candidates how best they handle Donald Trump, because they're kind of in the same spot that Republicans were in 2006 and Democrats were in 14 and 10. That, you can't exactly run away from the president because you risk alienating the base. But if you embrace the president, then you turn off all the independent voters you need. So, and they're in a bit of a bind. But again, these states are traditionally red, so it's gonna remain to be seen to see how, if these states still hold on in terms of how they voted. If they vote like consistently Republican, like as they have been, then Republicans are going to easily gain the majority, or they'll easily maintain the majority. But Democrats have to kind of capture that Doug Jones magic, where they're amazingly competitive in red states. And granted, Roy Moore in Alabama was a horrendously flawed candidate, one of the worst candidates I've ever seen. Well, yeah, definitely one of the worst candidates I've ever seen. Again, with the allegations, if you believe them to be true or not. So Democrats were able to run a decent candidate and take advantage of that. So, again, it remains to see if they're going to replicate that across the entire Senate map. I mean, they still could. I mean, there's definitely I would identify as Republicans that are, flawed candidates. Like, I think Kevin Nicholson is a bad man in Wisconsin. I think Patrick Morrisey will be a bad candidate in West Virginia. Kelly Ward in Arizona. Danny Tarkanian in Nevada. I'm not necessarily too happy with Matt Rosendale, but we'll see. And also, not a big fan of Lou Barletta in Pennsylvania, but yeah, that's going to be the way it is, obviously. So it depends on who Republicans pick, and obviously it's going to be up to those certain candidates how they're able to balance with the populist establishment, I call it. With all the Donald Trump supporters, and as well as the rest of the party, including the centrist voters and those traditional Tea Party voters. So again, I'm going to avoid predicting anything outright this time, but I'm just saying this is how the Senate stands. If you ask me how I would think the midterms will go down right now, I would say Democrats would easily win, because of how bad things are for Republicans right now. They still got deal with the perception of how bad the tax plan is. And then obviously, they're running against history, considering that how the president always does bad in midterms. Though it's also interesting, Republicans have done well in the past few first midterm elections in '94, in 2002, and 2010, obviously. So it's kind of two competing trends that, you have the president doing bad in the midterms, but the Republicans have done well in the first midterm. So one of these things are going to get upheld. So I don't know, obviously, which way it is yet, but by next year's time, we will definitely know who has won and who has lost. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you all in the next video.